Welcome to ABA Generalized, the podcast where we will bring a positive view to the world of applied behavior analysis.
We are your hosts, Erica, G, and Ann, here to share inspiring stories, practical tips, and share some of the latest research to help you thrive in your ABA practice.
Whether you're a seasoned professional, a student, or just curious about ABA, our goal is to spread positivity, foster a supportive community, and empower you to make a meaningful difference.
Every Monday, we'll dive into topics ranging from success stories to self-care strategies and professional growth.
Plus, we'll be featuring interviews with leading experts and real-life heroes in the field who are making an impact with their positive approach.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ABA Generalized the pod and send us your thoughts, questions, or success stories to aba.generalized.podcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and join us for today's episode of ABA Generalized.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is Ann and G today. We are both on full-time mom duty right now, so you may hear all children in the background, as well as if you're watching, you may see us talking, but we're muted and we're looking other ways because, again, we're just doing mom things as well as recording. We wanted to make sure we got, we have the information to get out to you every Monday. So here we are. We are doing double duty today. Erica is off. She got a new position as a BCBA, so she is off training and getting started with that. So we absolutely wish her the best of luck, and she will be back within an episode or two. She will not be taking much time off from us. But today we are going to get into Extinction. Extinction is, I think, really important and used a lot within ABA. And Ann and I were talking a little bit before we started recording that, like, most of the time it is a positive experience with Extinction, but sometimes you can have a negative experience. So I guess let's get started with, Ann, can you define Extinction?
So distracted now. You are no longer providing reinforcement for that behavior. So what does that mean? And we'll kind of get into the different types of extinction. Depending on the function of the behavior, you are no longer responding according to that function. Yeah, so like a general example would be ignoring a child's request for extra screen time, which were previously rewarded with attention. So if they're screaming and whining because they want screen time, guess what? You're not gonna give that attention for the screaming and whining. You can still, and this isn't to say that you're completely ignoring the kid. That's not at all what I'm saying. You're not giving them the silent treatment. That is not what this is. Okay, let's just make that clear.
Depending on the level of the kid, which is also something we're going to, get into as the episode goes along, you could just be maybe giving them a gesture to like the remote that like maybe they need to ask nicely for screen time, or maybe you have like a screen time icon if they communicate with PECs or AAC, and you're waiting for them to appropriately hand you the PECs or appropriately touch the AAC button. So yes, and that's a good point that we're not ignoring the child, but a lot of the time we're waiting for them to ask appropriately for whatever they are requesting.
Right, and kind of to go back on the previous episode that Erica and I recorded about shaping, fading, and chaining, you're kind of using extinction when you are shaping new behaviors. So we talked about how, using approximations at first, and then you're shaping it to the target that you want to see. So like we talked about the target behavior be like for the child to say, mom. And like first they might be able to just do the and then ma, and then ma, like, you're getting it closer and closer. So at first you reinforce the and then as soon as like they learn how to say ma, then you're putting on extinction. You're no longer providing reinforcement for that because you know now that they can say ma, and that's closer to the target that you want to see. So it's not just for decreasing problem behaviors. You can also use it for the skill acquisition. behaviors too.
No, that's perfect. So let's kind of dive into, so like obviously the 4 functions of behavior, attention, tangibles, escape, and sensory. So there is extinction for all 4 of them. I will say, and if you're looking at the sheet, I did take out the escape extinction. I didn't like what I was reading, how it was labeled. It really did just sound like ignoring the child. And I, again, just didn't like the way. So if you have a better definition for that one, feel free to jump in. But I think the most I've seen extinction used is for attention. I feel like a lot of the time, what we were just saying, we're trying to teach our children appropriate ways to get attention from peers, from adults, from anybody. And we want them to either use a tap on the shoulder or say their name, or, as I said, request using PECS AAC. So I think that happens, as I said, attention is a lot of the time what we're using extinction. The child is screaming on top of their lungs, trying to get your attention. And again, it was probably reinforced previously that, the child screamed and mom said, "What do you need?" And now that's how I get mom to ask me what I want. And that's the behaviors that we're putting together for that. I don't know if you want to get into maybe tangible.
Yeah, and then so tangible extinction would look like, so we can kind of go back to like the screen time example. If your child is asking for screen time, or they want access to screen time, but they're screaming or hitting or having a tantrum, throwing things, if they're throwing their iPad because they want you to unlock it or something. So you're going to block it and you're going to put it on extinction. You're not just going to unlock it because they're throwing and being unsafe. Okay. So if that makes sense, so you're no longer giving it when they're engaging in that behavior, or no longer giving candy after whining, or no longer, just making sure that you're matching the function of the behavior. So like another example would be if they're whining to get access to the iPad, you're not going to, you're not going to provide extinction on the attention. You're not going to be like, "Oh, ask for my attention, say mommy, look," or, so you want to replace it with, like iPad or tablet or something, whatever is appropriate for them to request for it.
I feel like, so we'll kind of go into sensory extinction next. I feel like that one is almost the easiest and the most like in your face, is like if a child is having self-interest behavior or trying to seek sensory needs, it is as simple as just blocking it, giving them an alternative behavior, which again, we're going to get into in a second. Always giving them an alternative behavior of, say that they're hitting themselves in the head, making sure that the replacement behavior is like clapping their hands or tapping, something that's incompatible with hitting their head. And again, but while it's happening that they're trying to hit their head, you are just using appropriate safety measures, whatever is in place for that child. If it's mats, if it's just your hand, depending on, again, on the age of the child. But just providing that block is extinction for sensory needs. So again, I think that one is the most in your face, like you're going to block it anyway. We don't want our children hitting themselves in the head or hitting themselves in general. So we're going to provide that block and introduce that alternative behavior with that. So I think the last one is then escape.
Yeah, so this would look like if you have an eloper. So with this one, and just like G said with sensory, like if like the child or whoever is engaging in safety concerns, you want to address that first. You would just want to make sure you're safe. You're not going to put elopement on extinction and allow for someone to just run away.
Yeah, that's not getting
You're not
anyone anywhere.
You're not gonna do that.
Yeah,
Like
it's
be
endangering the
okay. Like with
child,
this,
yeah.
you use common sense, please. We're not saying, oh, they just ran out of the classroom. Let them go. No.
No, we are definitely not saying that. But if they are avoiding, if they were asked to do a task and they are eloping to avoid it, that is when you may, see that behavior. Yeah, as I said, the escape one is like kind of a fine line because you don't want to necessarily ignore escape behavior. You want to make sure you're following through with whatever the demand is.
Right.
And again, I don't
So
know in my 5 years I've seen like an escape extinction.
I'm sure you have. So let me try this example of like, there's a lot of school refusal in schools, which could look like if you're like, okay, we're gonna write your name. Time to write your name. And they start throwing the pencil, ripping the paper, like they're escaping that demand. You're not gonna be like, oh, okay, you don't have to write your name.
I do know escape behavior, but it was before I was in tech. I was doing it, so I never saw like the actual plan. Well, just because they've been on the show, I can say this. Mr. Jonathan was really good at that. He was my go-to with that behavior. I was told, actually, now that you're saying this, for him, yes, I was told by his BCBA at the time, sit on your phone and don't look up until he's done. And I was like,
yep.
What?
Perfect example.
Perfect example. I'm getting paid to teach him. I was like, I can't ignore him. That's my job. My job is to attend to him. What are you talking about? I'm ignoring him. But it worked. He would get very frustrated with a problem or something that was going on his work. And he would break pencils and he would throw them. And we learned very early on that he was only allowed to have a certain amount of pencils for the day because this is something that would happen. But yeah, like, so say he had 5 pencils, he would break them all and he'd throw them. And then he'd stand up and threaten to throw his chair. And it got to the point where the BCBA was like, this is all for attention. It's all an escape. And the behavior served a couple functions, but it was more for escape. I'm doing the work. So yeah, I would sit there while he would destroy a room and just wait for him to be done. And once he was done,
as long as you're safe and he's safe, guess what?
And everyone was. And guess what? He would stay in the room that we were in. He would never run out of the room. He would never, I don't want to say never. There was a few moments, but that's a different story. But for the most part, he would stay in the room, even stay in our section. He would throw pencils, erasers, again, things that weren't going to hurt anyone. And he wasn't throwing them at anything. Like, he was just throwing them at walls and stuff that wasn't going to get hurt by that. So yeah, we let it happen. And eventually he realized this is getting me nowhere. And I'm still going to have to do this work at 3:00 today when I'm supposed to be done because the day is not over. And that behavior turned around real quick.
Well, and then I think this is kind of a good segue to get into extinction burst. So it's important. It's really important. And I'm learning this more and more to like preface this. When you start to put behaviors on extinction, you are going to see an increase in those behaviors because there's going to be an extinction burst. So, and that really is just an initial increase in the behavior that you're now putting on extinction. You're no longer reinforcing. So now the kid's like, oh my God, what I used to do, it's not working anymore. So then they amp it up and they're trying to find your breaking point. So they're like, okay, what am I going to do?
They're going to find it.
They're going to find it.
They know, they're smart.
Hold the line.
They're so smart. And they will find that line. And you, as a tech, as a parent, as whoever, caregiver, whoever you are implementing that strategy, you have to become so strong. Like, you have to be a turtle shell. Just hold on, because as soon as you get through that top line, it will come down.
Right. Because as soon as you like, you're going to want to be like, that's it. Like, this is it. Like, you're done. As soon as you reinforce the new behavior, and this will go into a negative experience that you had, that's going to be their new baseline. So guess what? They're, as soon as they get denied access or they don't have your attention or they're trying to escape something, they're going to start there at that amped up extinction burst. They're going to start there. So if the behavior at first was just like, like a light hit, now they're going to hit you harder. Now maybe they'll throw something at you. And they're just like trying to the point where they're like, I forget why I'm doing this.
No,
why am I doing this? And then it'll stop. It will stop.
I think that's like if you're not listening to anything else that we say about extinction, please listen that extinction works. It will end. Even though when you're in it and you're in the extinction burst and you want to scream, as Anne just said, it's like, forget it, I'm done. And you're going to give in, that is the moment. Just hang on for one more day, because I bet that the downward slope is coming. As soon as you feel that, I promise that's probably the top of the iceberg, and you're going over the edge, and we're going to come back down, and things are going to get better. So hang tight just a little bit longer when that happens.
And this might last for days.
Yes.
Weeks. It's not just going to be like, oh, okay, they reached the extinction burst in the session, and now tomorrow's session is going to be great. There's going to be no behaviors. That's not realistic, guys. And it's going to differ across everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And depending on the behavior that you are putting on extinction is going to depend on how severe the extinction burst is. If it is something that has been routinely reinforced for years, it's going to take longer and you're going to have a harder extinction burst. If it is something that is still new and it's just, a behavior that just started and you're just trying to, nip it in the butt at the beginning, you're going to see less of an extinction burst because they haven't completely learned how reinforcing, those how reinforcing things are from that behavior.
I can start with a positive example of extinction. I mean, I can't think of
we need to have a berry break over here. We'll be right back.
Berry break. I can't really think of like a specific positive example right now, but you're not. I think it's important to say, you're putting a behavior on extinction while also doing other things. So you're also teaching the replacement behavior. So you're putting that on extinction and prompting when they're de-escalated to ask for the attention, ask for a break, ask for a tangible, ask for sensory input. So you're also, you have to remember to teach the skill that you want to see, and lean more on like what you want them to see and instead of what you don't want them to do. Okay, because all they're going to hear if you say like, don't hit me, don't scream, like all they're hearing is hit and scream.
There is actually, I will share it on our Instagram page if I can find it. There has been a viral reel on Instagram that I've seen circulating a few times that a speech therapist literally proves what you're just talking about. That she holds up, it's like a 2 or 3 year old, that's her child, her own child that she is doing this with. And she holds up, I think, like an apple and an orange. And she says like, which one is not the apple? And the child goes directly for the apple. And then something about like one of them had a sticker on it. The child like notices the sticker and then, sorry guys, she noticed the sticker. She said, which one does not have a sticker? And she went right for the sticker. So again, I will post it on our story. I have to try and look for it. But yes, exactly what you're saying. There is like, it's so true.
Sorry, I'm writing a reminder for
I know. Oh, good. But I don't know. Did you? I kind of threw off. Did you finish what you were saying about like positives in extinction?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen just like graphing wise when I would do reports, like you see the behavior go down, and you'll see, like you might see their extinction burst, and it might happen again. Like so, you'll see the extinction burst. So like you'll see a big incline in your graph, and then it'll go down. And so that shows that, okay, the behavior is in extinction. Like you've extinguished the behavior, you've seen it over time that it's decreased, and it might go away completely, it might not, depending on it also depends on like across environments, is the behavior being extinguished by everyone, but then you might see a little spike, and that's called spontaneous
I was gonna say, well, that was
recovery.
No, that was perfect timing, because I wanted to cut you off for 1 second, because that is also a key point of extinction. Is it being extinguished across all settings? Yes, it can start in just your ABA session, and your technician or BCBA or whatever can start the procedure, but ultimately, to make it the most successful, it needs to be ignored or put on extinction throughout all settings, or you are going to keep seeing those extinction bursts. You're going to keep seeing them in the settings, or in different settings, because in some settings, I can get away with this. In other settings, I can't get away with this. And now the child is confused of what is the expectation of, you're good. But no, what is the expectation of me during this? So like, again, that is where extinction does work. We've seen it work. The graphs show that it worked. What Anne was just saying, you can Google any extinction graph and you're going to see it. You're going to see the burst, and then you're going to see it come down and hopefully just disappear altogether. But sometimes we are going to have those little peaks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and go into the negative real fast. You're fine. So I have had a negative experience. I had an experience where the child had screaming behavior. It was a newer behavior, and honestly, with COVID and everything, it kind of increased while we were doing telehealth, but we couldn't properly put it on extinction because of telehealth, and just because of what was going on. So once I did go back in person with this child, we immediately put it on extinction, because we knew it was something that was really bothering the parents and also really hindering our session. So we put screaming on extinction. Yeah, we did. We put screaming on extinction, and the function of the screaming was for attention. So as soon as we put that on extinction, all of these other behaviors started to happen. He started engaging in self-injurious behavior. He started to become aggressive towards me because I wasn't responding. So if I wouldn't respond, he immediately would come after me and try and pull my hair or try and hit me on the head. And then I was refusing him access to me because I knew it was coming. So I was putting myself on extinction as well as the screaming. Well, then it turned to self-injurious, because he said, all right, well, I can't get attention from screaming at you. I can't get attention from hitting you. I'm going to hit myself, because at this point you have to respond. And he knew that. And I'm not going to, obviously the child's not safe. I'm not letting him hit himself. We can't put that on extinction. And obviously we're blocking, and that what we just talked about is kind of, but it just became, not only was now screaming on an extinction burst, now we have 2 more behaviors that have just occurred with this. So, and what you had mentioned before, now screaming has like tripled what our baseline was, and it is not decreasing. We have new behaviors, and it's staying now at this new level, which is insane. It got to a point where I was like 70 times in a 2-hour session. It was insane. I remember looking at the number and being like, I don't even know how I'm taking data still. It was crazy. But long story short, in all of that was happening because we never put a replacement behavior in. We were just so focused on getting rid of the screaming because it was hindering so many things that we totally forgot about the alternative behavior. And again, we kind of got ourselves stuck in a corner. I will say there's no happy ending to that story. I ended up leaving the company, and things ended up just kind of, it needed a reset anyway. There was a lot going on in that case. I had been on the case for too long. So again, I don't know the exact ending of that story. I'm sure he's good now, but just an example that extinction without following all the proper procedures might not go exactly as planned.
And I think that's really important that you said that. Like, so do you think that if you were teaching the replacement behaviors as you were putting them on extinction, that there would have been a different outcome?
Yes. I think that if we were teaching him simultaneously to like tap my shoulder or say my name, because he knew my name, he knew how to say Miss G. Excuse me. So if we were teaching that along with it, I think things would have gone a little bit smoother. I also think there was a couple other factors. Sorry. I don't know if you have anything else and if you kind of wanted to do like main points and wrap up.
Well, and kind of like just to add to, while you're teaching the replacement behavior, you're praising, you're reinforcing the function of the replacement behavior so that, yes. So you're teaching the replacement behavior. If they're saying break and you're like, oh, yay, good job, let's keep going. Like, no. Actually follow through and give the break, give access, give attention, give the sensory when they appropriately request it so that they start to pair like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do instead. And then giving that reinforcement for that behavior so that in a way that it's higher and like it's more meaningful for them and they want reinforcement for this new replacement behavior over the problem behavior, because that's how you're going to decrease the problem behavior is by giving the higher reinforcement, like making a huge deal out of it and giving access or escape or whatever the function is so that they learn, like they're learning. And I saw something again on social media that said something like, you teach behaviors the same way you teach academics. And I was like, whoa. Like, how else are you going to expect them to ask for a break if they're saying it and you're not giving it? So make sure that you're following through and you're reinforcing that.
Absolutely. I think the follow through on anything, and we can get into this in a few other topics that we'll talk about, but that's just important all across ABA, especially in Extinction, but across ABA in general. If you are saying something, follow through with it. If you're saying that Santa's not going to come if they don't do this one task, then Santa
better not have him come here.
Then Santa better
like you need to make sure exactly. You need to make sure and this is something like I think as I was thinking of the episode before, like when I was getting ready before we recorded, like when I texted about like another idea of an episode, that's what I was thinking of. Like, if you're gonna say something, you better make sure you can follow through with that. Like, okay, we're gonna like if you say we're going to the park later, you better take them to the park.
Yeah. And I mean that just shows trust. So I'll kind of end. We're gonna wrap up this episode, but I'm gonna end on like example of something that just occurred to me. I do photos on the side, and I'm in the middle of Christmas photography right now. I have had a few. Just letting everyone know, my RBT certification is officially expired, so I am allowed to do this ethically. I took photos of a previous client just recently, and we had that rapport. Sorry, guys. We have that rapport already built. He knows if I say something, I'm going to follow through with it, and I mean what I say. But his brother and I do not have that same rapport. His brother and I do not have the same rapport. So the brother was kind of iffy about what I was saying. And if he's kind of looked at me like, are you sure? Like, are you actually going to give me like, a treat after I do this? And it's like, yeah, I will. But that just shows like, if you actually follow through, the kids start to trust you and they start to understand, okay, yeah, she said I'm getting a treat after I smile for this picture. I'm going to get one. And it was really crazy to see it like with the two kids in the same family that one of them was like, oh yeah, she's telling the truth. Like just stand here and smile. Like we're going to get what we need to get. And the little brother was like, are you sure? I don't know about this. But yeah, so all in all, we're going to kind of wrap up for today. Thank you all for listening to the kids in the background running around and doing everything. But yeah, extinction is really important. It's, especially to decrease some of these behaviors, especially attention seeking ones. But obviously we've given examples of everything. So that is extinction for everyone. And if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, you know that we're here. You can come find us on Instagram, email. Everything is in our descriptions. So just come find us and let us know.
But find us, but not in real life, just on social. Don't come.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place in in real life. So don't come find us in real life. But for now, that is all.
ABA Generalized, the podcast, is not providing professional advice. Please seek a professional in your area for specific advice and support.